So the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is a 2023 Mini Cooper S Countryman, and this is a 2025 Mini Countryman S All 4. And what do these two have in common? They are both minis. Now, yes, I have made this argument before that these are always going to be Mini Coopers. It doesn't matter what you say about them. That's a Mini and that's a Mini. And putting the two side by side, you can see quite easily that they look very much alike. And I know it sounds like I'm yelling about this, but it's because I'm trying to prove a point here, and that's because people seem to say that this looks nothing like a Mini. Well, it definitely looks like a Countryman, as you can plainly see by putting the two side by side. Now, this isn't something that's always done. You don't always see a side-by-side video showing the two cars and comparing them. But in this video, we're going to show you exactly what is different about them, but at the same time, why they look so very much similar. So let's get into it. So for those of you who watched my previous video where I compared the Clubman with the Countryman, you might recognize this car. That's the Miniac white Countryman that I showed you all in the previous video. This one, on the other hand, is a rooftop gray and a nicely spec'd out F60 Countryman. Now, putting the two side by side allows you to really see some similarities between the two cars, and yes, some distinct differences between the two cars, obviously. You'll notice the more angular shape of the new Countryman, the more geometric, the more creased body lines, and then you come over here and you have much smoother, more rounded body lines that you would find on most Minis. But I did notice after looking at this car long enough that there are some body lines that are definitely shared between these two cars. For starters, there is a body line that runs off the headlight, comes along right here, and curves down toward the scuttle. If we come over to the new Countryman, you can see a very similar body line. No scuttle, but a very similar body line nonetheless. That same body line is then repeated on the rear of the car, and that also matches on the Countryman S All 4 as well. So there are some details that are very similar. When you look at the headlights side by side, yes, much rounder shape, but this is a very pointed design as far as headlights are concerned, especially right there. Definitely not round. Obviously not round over here, but the shape is very similar, especially if you look at them head on. So from there, you can really see it, and there it is as well. Now, this is the LCI Countryman, so they added these vents to give the car a more vertical look. The result was the vehicle had a little bit more of a verticality to it, a little bit more of a rugged look. Now, when they redesigned the car, they gave it a very vertical look. Very tall, very angular, very rugged, which is what they were trying to do. Effectively, when they facelifted the cars, they were basically showing you where they were going with the design cues on these vehicles. So you automatically knew that at some point you were going to have something similar to this. Now, yes, this has the side scuttles, this has the door handles that pop out. This does not have the side scuttles, it does not have door handles that pop out, it has recessed door handles. But overall, the shapes are very similar. You come to the side profile of the new Countryman, unmistakably Mini Countryman right there. Very, very compact shape, very boxy, nice front and rear overhangs. You come over to the F60 Countryman, same scenario, boxy, nice front and rear overhangs, but the shape is very similar. Unmistakably a Mini. This is a Mini Countryman, that's a Mini Countryman. They look very, very similar. Now, yes, the new Countryman is slightly bigger, but not by width, really. It's more along the lines of length. The new Countryman is about 6 inches longer than the old one. And where that really shows up is really in the back seat, because there's a lot more legroom back there, but there's also a lot more trunk space back here. But overall, the shape of the vehicle and the size of the vehicle doesn't look much different. Now, it does have a little bit taller belt line. It has a little bit of a taller presence. However, as you saw in my previous video, my Can I See Over It test works just fine right here, because I can see over this one just fine. And like I proved in the last video, I can see over that one as well. They are not that much taller. But what is different is they went to a flush roof rail compared to the one that was up on risers on the F60. Now, getting into the interior, you have the malt brown Chesterfield leather, which is very, very nice. Upon hopping in, you have a nice leather wrapped steering wheel, paddle shifters, touch screen with navigation, vertical trimmed dash, kind of nice. You have Harman Kardon speakers. You have a head-up display right there. You have a nice sunroof here. You have a anthracite headliner. You have all the nice stuff in here that makes this a very, very comfortable car. And it really is a comfortable car. I like this. This is very nice. Now, when you come over to the U25 Countryman, you have a similar kind of malt brown right here, similar to the other car, that fades into this bluish green, which is very nice, a fabric. And yes, this is easy to clean with a damp cloth. And then you have the new Veskin interior, JCW seats, hop in, and you are greeted with an equally comfortable interior. You have a nice head-up display. You have nice switches, nice dials, a very nice steering wheel, very comfortable steering wheel. It's a smaller steering wheel too, which is what I like about the newer cars. That's one of the big things I like about them, is they made the steering wheel a little smaller, which really, from a driving perspective, makes these cars much more tossable, if that's a good word to describe it. And then, of course, center screen with all your information right there and your navigation, and you can even have a little fun with this thing if you really want to. So you can even do that, which is kind of cool. Very, very nice overall. So you have all the nice stuff in here as well. Very comfortable. Wireless charging. Your shifter and your starter are right here. Your experience modes are right here. You have your storage box right there. Your usable armrest right here, which I love. Now, if we take this and we go to the other car, which was the one big flaw of the other car, your armrest in here can do many things. It cannot slide forward and back. It can go up and down, but that's really it. This is more of an elbow rest, like I pointed out in my Clubman versus Countryman video. It wasn't designed to be a true armrest. The new cars, they resolved this by making it a true armrest. Now, yes, lack of shifter there. A lot of people prefer to have the shifter right there. Under the hood of the F60 Countryman is a 189 horsepower, 206 foot-pounds of torque, 4-cylinder twin-power turbo. It makes decent power. For front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive applications, it works very well. It's a great engine. You can do a lot with this engine. It, on its own bone stock, great motor. However, in the new Countryman is a 241 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, B48 twin-power turbo. And there it is. You have effectively the same engine if you look at them closely, but this is the B46, that's the B48. The B46 was because of super ultra low emission vehicle status, which is something that California required, so BMW decided to give everyone in the US that engine, rather than allowing some of us to have the B48, which was, in my view, a more fun engine. They brought the B48 back for the US market, and there it is in the new Countryman. It's also in the new Cooper S, it's also in the new JCW, it's also in the new Cooper B48. And the difference between those engines in all those cars is mainly tuning. They're basically the same engine. Perhaps I should have pointed this out in the last video. You see, this is the UK L2 platform. This, I never pointed out, is called the FAA-R platform, or FAR. It is the platform that underpins all front-wheel drive BMWs and Minis. As such, it is an evolution of the UK L2, resulting in effectively it being the same platform and the cars having very similar characteristics. Now, yes, this new one is a taller vehicle than the old one. Here's something you didn't notice, or maybe you did. You look at the engine in the F60, it's set down a little lower, obviously. You look at the engine in the Countryman, it is also set down lower, which means the center of gravity in these cars is a lot lower, which is why these cars, even at a slightly taller vehicle, are so good at cornering. They are incredibly good at cornering. Try going around a corner at 45 miles per hour in a Toyota RAV4. Now, yes, they went to a standard hood on the car. Now, why did they do that? Some would argue it was because they were doing away with the clamshell completely. The clamshell is also incredibly expensive to produce, which is why they went to a conventional hood, but also the clamshell is the reason on the F56, for example, why the nose is so big and all the other stuff. There's no place to put all the crash materials in the car. So when they make it a regular hood like this, they're not using part of the body as part of the hood. The result is they can put those crash materials a lot higher up in the body panels and make the whole car look more compact, which is exactly what they did here. So the result is you have a vehicle that looks very much more mini than you would expect. It gives you that shorter overhang. Yes, it's still an overhang, but it's a shorter one than you would expect if they had kept the clamshell bonnet. Now, another thing I pointed out in previous videos, to close the hood on the new Countryman, bring it down and throw. To close the hood on the old Countryman, bring it down and drop. Cargo space. Let's talk about cargo space. The trunk area of the new Countryman is quite spacious. I could fit myself in there. There's a lot of space. Now, if you fold down the seats, you have even more space. And if you flip up the load floor, you have even more space, including a spare tire. So you have a lot of stuff in here. Now, what do you have in the old Countryman? Well, in the old Countryman, you have a decent trunk area. In fact, I could probably still fit myself in here. But for some reason, it just seems a little smaller than the new one. And if you go under the load floor, you have your original carpets right there. So there's that. Decent amount of cargo space, trunk space, but I think the advantage on the cargo space goes to the U25 Countryman. Rear passenger room. Now, you noticed that in the old Clubman that I showed you in the previous video, it was a little cramped, and that was with the driver's seat set in my position. As you can see right here, I have a decent amount of legroom right there, at least 2 inches right there between my knee and the back of the seat. So that's nice. Now, if you recline it, probably not. Now, you also have USB-C ports down here. You have your air vents. You have everything you need. And it's very comfortable back here. Now, like I showed in the previous video, plenty of room in the new Countryman to sit. Plenty of legroom right there. This seat is set to my position, so I have plenty of space here. Very, very comfortable. Both of these are incredibly comfortable, but there is something that the old Countryman has that the new one doesn't. You see, I honestly don't know why you would need it, but you can pull up on a lever here and slide your seat forward. Now, I don't know why you would want to do that except to increase your cargo space, but as far as passenger space, it doesn't help it. I like the simplicity of the details here. The car just feels very simple, which is something I think was needed because I feel like cars have gotten a little too complex over time. So to get it to something that just feels clean and tidy and not a lot of fuss, has what you need, not what you don't need, doesn't have superfluous trim panels everywhere. It just has everything you need. There's nothing you don't need in this car. Nothing extra, nothing superfluous. Things that people have been arguing make the car not as high quality to some people's eyes. They think of the fact that there's fewer things that are visible as being low quality. That's not true. The extra stuff that they put into cars sometimes is really to hide the fact that there is a low quality thing going on. Now, I'm not saying that the previous generation was a low quality car. Far from it. It was a very high quality car. But this is also a high quality vehicle. It's just simplified. It's done in a way that you're not going to notice certain things. Case in point. Look at the simplicity of the steering wheel. 2 spokes with a strap down at the bottom. The steering wheel in the F56, a lot more elaborate. You have paddle shifters, you have leather stitched, you have buttons. Everything feels a little bit more over the top to some degree. You have trim panels here, lots of trim panels, lots of switches, lots of things. People seem to equate having lots of things with being a high quality product, and that is just not the case. You can have a minimalist interior in a car with very few switches, with everything where it needs to be, nothing over here on the dash, simple interior, and still have a high quality product. This car is very high quality. It is very comfortable. It's very inviting. It's very sporty even. This is a very sporty interior. This is a fun freaking car. I've driven these and I think they're great. I think the old one is great as well, but I really do like the way they did the new interiors. The only drawback is I wish they would put paddle shifters there. But not everyone needs them and not everyone is going to use them. Will I use them if I have them? Most likely. But the average person is not going to use them. So having paddle shifters, irrelevant really. Unless you have a John Cooper Works, and then of course you have the paddle shifters. But this has everything you need and it's a very comfortable car. And I think it even has massage in the seats. I like this G meter right there. That's going to be entertaining for someone. And then you have everything here. You got the turbo spool. So we got, when I accelerate, it'll give me the boost right there. That's kind of cool. Coolant temps right here. 383 miles of range before I have to refill it. This thing has a full tank of gas. My car doesn't even get 383. And this is true. My JCW hardtop gets 283 if I'm lucky these days. So that's saying something right there. Better fuel economy. I like that. Overall, very nice. Fit and finish is very nice. The seats are comfortable. The quality is very, very good. It is just a very nice car. It really is. But like I said, people equate simplified with low quality, which I don't understand, because you will pay $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a Tesla, which, to be quite honest, is more minimalist than this, and you will say that that car is high quality. Far from it. Teslas are not high quality vehicles, and I will stand by that statement. And if you want to make an argument with me in it, put a comment below. This I do love. I like the retro styling. I like the compactness of it. I love the turnstile spoke wheels, which look like Death Stars, or someone said they look like the Death Star from Star Wars, so I'm going to go with that. But the turnstile spoke wheels, very, very cool. The kaleidoscope wheels are very cool. I like them both. I think they're both very good vehicles. I think they're both very good looking vehicles. The retro styling here is perfect. The modern styling over here pays homage to the original car, while at the same time being more updated, being more fresh, being new, being clean, being simplified, like the original Minis, which were really a study on minimalism. It was basically everything you needed, nothing you didn't. Now, where the Mini Countryman goes after this, who knows? But for right now, the U25 is here to stay, and I think it's a fantastic vehicle. Now, would I love an F60 Countryman? Only if it's a John Cooper Works. But I do think the John Cooper Works variant on the U25 is an incredible vehicle, and it's one I wouldn't mind driving. So which one would you take? Which one would you drive? Comment below, let me know what you think. Do you think the U25 is the better Countryman? Or do you think the F60 is the better Countryman? Like what you see, check out more content on this channel at the end of this video, and thanks for watching.